Hello, my name's Erin Beneteau. I'm here today to tell you about our paper, Assumptions Checked, How Families Learn About and Use the Echo Dot. Now, my co-authors and I were really fortunate to work on a grant funded by Mozilla in which we provided 10 Echo Dots to 10 diverse families, none of whom had ever owned a dedicated home voice assistant before. We began our study by conducting initial interviews in which we interviewed family members about their expectations of how they might use the Echo Dot. Then we observed families unbox and conduct the initial setup of the Echo Dot in their home. And at this point, we already started to see an assumption mismatch between the design of the Echo Dot and expectations of use through initial setup. For example, when some families first plugged in the Echo Dot, they began immediately to talk to it and say things like, "Alexa, play music." And when the Echo Dot didn't respond, then families started wondering what was wrong with the device. It wasn't until later that families discovered that, in fact, they had to complete setup through an app. And in fact, many of our families were quite surprised to learn that they needed to conduct the setup through an app. After that initial setup, we conducted 1 month of anchored audio sampling in which we recorded conversations between family members and the Echo Dot for a period of 4 weeks. At the conclusion of those 4 weeks, we conducted exit interviews with families to learn about their feelings about how the Echo Dot worked. In total, we captured 14.5 hours of audio capture. And we went through and coded those audio captures, looking at the different functionality that families used throughout that 4 weeks. And one thing we noticed is that over the period of 4 weeks, families decreased the number of functions that they used within the Echo Dot. And in exit interviews, families talked about this, such as with family F that said, "And I honestly thought we would do more, maybe also because we don't know what skills it has. You use what you learn." Family F also talked about how, "I wish that the makers would not assume that their consumers are as high-tech or half the level that they are at." So again, we start seeing how this assumption mismatch between the design of the device and families' assumptions and how the device might work can impact overall learning and use of the functionality of the Echo Dot. Let's take music as an example. Family D said, "It took me a little while to realize that I didn't just have to use Amazon Music. It wasn't until after a while that I figured out I can actually connect her to other music services like Spotify and Pandora." In fact, we had 2 families that went through the 4-week deployment without realizing that their Amazon Echo Dot could connect to their existing Spotify services. And in fact, at the exit interviews, those families talked about how they preferred Spotify's music system, so they played music on their phone, tablet, or computer instead of through the Echo Dot. So this led us to thinking about Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory and how people learn about innovations and new technology and new functionality. And based on this innovation theory, diffusion of innovation theory, we developed a set of technology learning circles of influence to describe how receptive people are to learning about functionality of technology through voice interfaces and about voice interfaces. So for this talk, because it's quite short, let's take a look at the inner circle here, in which the user learns about functionality through the voice interface, and the voice interface learns about functionality and preferences from the user. So here's an actual section of audio capture from Family H, in which the child asks Alexa to play a specific music piece. Alexa's response is, "Havana isn't included in Prime, but is available in Amazon Music Unlimited. Would you like to learn more?" In this case, both the child and parent say no, they do not want to learn more. Alexa does not honor that request, though, and says, "Okay, you can sign up anytime by saying sign up for Amazon Music Unlimited," and then provides a sample of the music. So by not honoring the user's requests that no, they don't want to learn more, the response is not instilling trust between the user and the voice interface, that the voice interface is going to honor the user, the human user's requests. So we focus on how can you create a trusted learning partner through a voice interface. Family B asked a very similar question. They said, how do we learn what Alexa can do without Alexa looking like they're trying to push marketing stuff on us? Using our circles of influence model, this is how we suggest that you can create a trusted learning partner to promote learning and trust between the voice interface and the human users. So when the child asks for a specific song to be played, we suggest that Alexa could provide options by saying, I can't find that song within the default music program, but it might be available via Pandora, Amazon Music Services, or Spotify. Would you like to set up one of those music services now? If the human says no, then the machine, the voice interface, should honor that response and say okay and just stop talking. Speaking of stopping talking, I am at my time limit, so if you want to talk more about conversational design, learning voice interfaces, and HCI, please feel free to email me at ebenet@uw.edu. Thank you.